There we go, Sean. Sean, how are you, my friend?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Now, first of all, Sean, I want to ask you, we are obviously dealing with the coronavirus, COVID-19, this pandemic that has affected the entire world. But how are you doing? How's your family? Is everyone okay and safe and sound?
We're good, man. My heart goes out to anyone who has lost a loved one, or anyone who's sick right now, battling this thing. It's been a wild, crazy last, 3 or 4, 5, 6 months now. So, but on my side of everything, my family is okay. My dad is okay. Training went well, and we're excited about Saturday.
Now, Sean, did you have a fight? Your last fight was that tremendous battle. It was a war between you and Errol Spence at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The crowd rose to their feet in the 12th round. But did you have a fight scheduled before COVID that got delayed? Were you in the process of getting a fight? What was the status of Shawn Porter, as COVID kind of began? Because some guys had their dates pushed back.
I was training, also doing the Inside PBC boxing show, and we were in the stages of trying to schedule a fight. Before the COVID hit, we were, I think, gunning towards June, and then once COVID really hit the U.S. and everyone started talking about the quarantine, we pretty much let go of that opportunity to fight in June. With the understanding that we would just come back as soon as possible.
Now, were there any opponents that you were circulated towards or that they threw at you, or is it kind of like, here's a potential date or a month, and then we'll figure out the opponent really soon, and then COVID hit?
Well, coming off the fight in September, wanting to fight, we actually wanted to fight in March. And I think at the early part of the year, we weren't seeing anything materialize as far as an opponent goes or a date, and things just kind of started to shift a little bit. And I think as we were trying to figure out, okay, who we going to fight, who we going to go after, I think that's when things really started to ramp up with the COVID and the quarantine.
Well, let's talk about your opponent on Saturday night. He is making his U.S. debut. He's an unknown quantity. He's undefeated. 33 years of age, from Germany, Sebastian Formella, 22-0 with 10 knockouts. What do you know about the German who is making his U.S. debut?
I know a lot about him. I think most people will be surprised to hear that, but the good part about being me is I have a lot of connections, and my connections are always willing to help. And so multiple people actually in Germany who were able to give myself as well as my dad information on the fighter. Another connection who was able to give me about 10 fights of his that were all over there in Germany and Europe. So I know a lot about the guy. He likes to use the ring. He likes to move. He needs some space to work. And, and he wants to use a long-rangey jab too. So nothing new for me. I think for you guys, you'll see a different approach to our tactics and how we plan to take on and take out Sebastian Formella.
So you're kind of saying that we might see a little bit different of a Shawn Porter compared to what we've seen in the past?
I think you always see a different Shawn Porter every fight. It just always depends on the fighter and their style. So I can definitely say my last 5 fights, you don't see the exact same Shawn Porter in the ring. You may see hints of one Shawn Porter in 2 particular fights, but and definitely my last 5 fights, there's a different Shawn Porter definitely throughout each of those fights. So I think a lot the same here. It's gonna be similar to some other Shawn Porters, but you'll see some differences as well. And you'll say, okay, Shawn Porter has added another wrinkle to his game.
Sean, you are a heavy favorite coming into this fight. Do you feel any added pressure to go out and stop Formella, and that way you can go ahead and people know what you bring to the table in the top ranks of the welterweight division? But do you feel any pressure to go out and, all right, I really need to smash this guy to let everyone know that, I'm still top 2, top 3 in the world?
You know what? With this fight here, I came to my dad. I told him, as soon as this quarantine is up and we're able to get in the ring, I want to be one of the first guys to get in the ring for PBC. And I told my dad that I'm taking the responsibility that boxing and PBC and Fox in my hands. You know, I think that I'm the best representative for boxing right now to get in the ring and do what I do. When I get in the ring, you're always going to be excited. You're always going to see some great action, and you're definitely going to see a great human being in the ring and myself. And so that's basically what I'm doing. Is I guess if anything, whoever considers it pressure, I put the pressure on myself to take the responsibility of boxing, the responsibility of championship level boxing in my hands and get in the ring as soon as possible, and that ends up being August 22nd.
Shawn, what did you learn in your last fight against Errol Spence? Because it was no mistake about it. You both were going at it and slugging it out at Staples Center. What did you take away and have brought with you into this fight that you encountered in the fight with Spence?
You know, I think something that my dad always does after every fight is we always go back to the fundamentals and to the basics of boxing. And not that they were lacking in that fight, but there were definitely some small moments, laws, if you will, where I may have dropped my guard a little bit, may have done some things a little unorthodox, unlike my training. So getting back to training was the exact same thing. Got to keep the hands up. You got to punch and stay in position when you punch and things like that. So I think you definitely see the fundamentals being displayed on Saturday night.
Shawn, you've beaten Danny Garcia, you've beaten Devin Alexander, Paulie Malignaggi, you've had some high-profile wins. You've been in a war with Keith Thurman, with Errol Spence, with everybody that you've stepped inside the ring with. I'm about that. I mean, literally everybody. You have been a pro for almost 12 years, and I feel like you pretty much ran the gamut when it comes to the top of the 147-pound division. But who was the toughest guy that you stepped inside the ring with, and can you tell me why?
I would say, it's got to be, I've had some tough fights out there too. It would be one of these three. My toughest fights: Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence. No particular order. I can't really say which fighter was the best fighter, proposed the best opposition to me. I think at the point in time when I fought Kell Brook, I think I held myself back from everything that I could accomplish in that fight. The fight with Keith Thurman, I think we had a great game plan going in. I think we executed everything very well, and the same thing with Errol Spence. I think at the end of the day, it's not about which fighter was the toughest, but you know how many of those fans were pleased and excited with what they saw at the end of the night. That's what matters to me.
You know, it could obviously be on the opposite end where you only have maybe one defeat, or could, potentially maybe even be, undefeated in some aspects. But do you think that, in terms of fighting the best in the welterweight division, that a fight with Pacquiao or maybe a Terrence Crawford may lie in the wings, or would you want a rematch with Errol Spence? Because I know you've mentioned fighting Manny Pacquiao before.
Well, you know what? I've said this. I never saw myself fighting Sebastian Formella. Didn't know him before the fight was made. So for me, I can always say what I want to do, but I don't know what's going to happen. So to keep it plain and simple, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Manny Pacquiao, Danny Garcia. Right now, the fight with Terrence Crawford at the moment is still on the back burner, but that's a fight that I think can still be made out there. So I'm interested in big names. I don't think those big names are as interested in me, but we'll take what they give us, and myself, my team, and God will do the rest.
Shawn, what has the preparation been like for you as you get ready to take on Sebastian Formella? This is a brand new world that we are living in with social distancing and wearing your mask and making sure that everything is sanitized, especially even that much more after every PBC fight on television. They go and sanitize the ring. I'm sure you've seen it. They wipe down the ropes, everything else. But has your schedule when it comes to training been affected at all? Or have there been some little things that you've had to do differently?
I think, obviously the quarantine kept us out of the boxing gym. My dad says, hey, come to my house. We'll get going in the backyard. He hangs a heavy bag up off of his tree, and that's how we get going. He swept out the dirt, and I'm doing, 5, 6, 8 rounds in the backyard. After that, he had someone come over and actually build an entire rack. Now we got up a couple bags, got up a speed bag. We have a boxing gym in my dad's backyard. So that's where I would say probably about 80% of the work was done this camp. Then, of course, we did start to get into the boxing gym just for sparring, and we had closed-off sessions. Nobody's coming in. Coach Larry Wade, as well as my dad and a few others, are cleaning off the ropes every single day, cleaning off the steps that I walk every day, cleaning the inside of the ring. Everything that you guys do have done right there for PBC on the live telecast we were doing in the gym back in June when we got in there. And believe it or not, but I actually started sparring with my dad when we got back sparring. My dad comes to me and he says, we need to get back sparring. Who can we bring in? And, we all thought about it for a couple of days. And my dad says, we ain't bringing in nobody. You're going to get in the ring with me. And my dad just tried to play this quarantine and this COVID as safely as possible. I sparred with my dad, I think, about 3 weeks, twice a week for 3 weeks.
So you sparred with your dad?
Yeah, then he felt comfortable enough to bring in some other guys that he knew would be healthy, would follow our rules and our guidelines while they were in town training with me. But my dad, you've seen him before, man. Obviously, he stays in shape, but you know that my dad is no nonsense and no stop, no quit type of attitude, and that's everything that you see in the ring from me. I get it from him. He understood very early that we had to be safe and that we had to be ready, and that meant me sparring with my dad. So, of course, I toned it back a little bit, and we had some fun. We had a lot of great moments in there. Had a lot of moments of him yelling at me, telling me that I'm doing too much. Stick with the basics. What have we been working on? So it was a lot of fun. And I think this quarantine has really helped all of us grow. I hope that everyone out there has been able to grow and manage themselves through this quarantine and become better people. I know that we became better people, better athletes. We're clean and safe and things like that. This is going to continue forever. So, things like carrying around the masks as well as the hand sanitizer, that's day and night with us now. It's a part of the daily routine, which is necessary in the world that we live in now.
Now, Shawn, was it hard to find sparring partners in regards to this fight against Sebastian Formella on Saturday night, PBC on Fox, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time? But was it difficult, or was it more so you guys kind of wanted to wait and see and observe to see if everyone was going to follow your protocols because you were very strict in that regard?
Yeah, for us, it was all about the protocols. It was never about who we were getting in the ring with. It was all about who can come in and give me good work, first off, but also be healthy the whole time that they're here and manage themselves the whole time that they're here. And we got some great guys to come in. Brandon Lynch came in. We had Babyface just fought. Eric, what's Eric's last name? Eric.
Not Walker, was it? Was it Walker?
Eric Walker. He
Eric
came
Walker,
in with
okay.
us. We brought in guys that that we've been connected with for a long time, that we knew could come in, manage themselves, give us some good work, stay healthy, and get better themselves. Eric came back and he trained with me, I think, another 2 weeks before he had his fight, so, and he just fought, I think, last weekend. So also another young guy who made the Olympic team, Raheem Gonzalez. He was the last sparring partner that we had. Now Raheem is about 6'1", and he likes to use the ring a lot like Sebastian
Formella.
So it was a blessing. We found him, I think, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before we got the announcement that we were going to be fighting Sebastian Formella. So it ended up being a blessing that we had the right guys that were able to come in, and everything went smoothly for us. We never had any hiccups, never had any guys with any problems, and we're extremely blessed as a team.
Well, I want to talk about your team. I want to talk about your father, Kenny. I also want to talk about your strength and conditioning coach, Larry Wade, who I think is very undervalued and I think is wonderful in terms of what he does, preparing world-class prize fighters from a conditioning standpoint.
Right.
When I look at the Shawn Porter camp, though, I see it being military-like, but in a good way. The one word I would describe your camp is disciplined because you come in shape, you're always focused and prepared and ready to go, and everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, well, I tell everybody, if you want to be successful, you have to keep like-minded individuals around you. And where did I learn that from? But my dad, So my dad has done a terrific job with me in terms of developing me as a professional athlete, and the small things that he felt like he couldn't do or would rather someone else do. He's always brought in other people to do that. And we have Coach Larry Wade, who's been with us since 2013. He was with me when I won my first world championship title. Back then, he was kind of following the guidelines of my dad. He needs this, he needs that. Since 2013, Wade has gotten more letters behind his name, more education, and he's really just full go now with me. My dad, hey, did you guys go to the track today? And, Wade will tell him now, what's going on, basically the day-to-day things that we have as far as strength and conditioning. And then we have Barry Hunter, who made it in last night. And Barry Hunter's an X and O's kind of guy. My dad's not X and O's. Yeah, my dad's not X and O's. My dad is, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Do this, and you're going to be successful. Barry Hunter comes in. He brings the X's and O's. The other guy's going to do this. SP, you do this. We're walking away as the winners, So my team is tight, and we're right, and we're all ready to go.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Barry Hunter because as I was preparing for this interview, the one thing that stood out was your win over Danny Garcia when you became the WBC welterweight champion of the world. And you said that after the 8th round, because Barry trained Lamont Peterson for Danny Garcia, that was a very close fight. Danny got the nod in that fight. You brought in Barry Hunter. And after the 8th round, Barry said, okay, you showed him your boxing. Now it's time to step it up and kick it into another gear. Yeah. Do you feel that was so big and crucial to you getting that win over Danny Garcia?
You know what? My dad and I were at that fight when Lamont Peterson lost the fight to Danny Garcia, and we felt like Lamont may have turned it on a little too late. And so we saw exactly what they were doing in the stands. And when it was time to fight Danny, my dad says, hey, I'm bringing in Barry. And we've worked with Barry for years. I turned pro. Barry's in my corner in my debut. He's been in my corner for years. But my dad felt like having Barry in camp and having him there and being more instrumental throughout the camp would be better for us. And so Barry came in and basically handed us the blueprint that he developed with Lamont with some other adjustments to do things the Porter way. I think we really did pull that fight out, doing it the Porter way with some added headbanger type of mentality.
Well, I feel like you would be emblematic of being a headbanger fighter because, they're always in condition. They always come to fight, and that's what you're all about.
After that fight, my dad says we got to go down there and start training with Barry. I think we've done 2 camps down there since that fight. And I learned very quickly what the headbangers do and how they get it done. And it is a lot like the Porter way.
Well, Shawn, the one thing I want you to kind of put on your analyst hat because you're a wonderful analyst on PBC on Fox telecast. And what I'm going towards is on November 21st, the fight that I know you're going to have your eye on with Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. You have been in the ring with both. Who do you think has the advantage of that fight? And do you think that right now, I believe Errol is a favorite over Danny. Do you think that the odds are justified?
Yeah, I think that rightfully so. He's the favorite. I think, to this point, he's done basically everything right inside of the ring to become and maintain being a world champion. He's got some skills and some tools in his chest that works. Excuse me, that works very well for him. He's more active than Danny Garcia, and he sets guys up. Danny sets guys up as well, but Danny isn't quite as active as Errol Spence is. I think that Danny needs to come in, be active from the GO, make it be known that he's in the ring to win the fight, and he can't allow Errol Spence to get comfortable. All of us are coming off of this COVID. All of us are coming off of extremely long layoffs. But not only that, Errol Spence is coming off of an injury we had to take time away from training and take time away from the ring just simply to heal, you know. So I think he's got some added baggage coming into the ring in terms of the layoff and rust. And so I think that Danny Garcia needs to come in there and take advantage of that. If I had to pick a winner, I think it's going to be Errol Spence. But there's no telling, you know, what Errol Spence we're going to get in the ring. He is some time away from that accident now, and it will be more than a year once the fight takes place. But there's no telling, you know, what's going to happen until he gets in the ring and actually starts moving. So I think if Danny Garcia comes in the ring with that blood boiling, it could be a great night for him. But I do anticipate this being a fight that Errol Spence will win.
Well, Shawn, what blows my mind about that fight is that Errol could have easily come back and taken a tune-up fight. Instead, he's jumping right into the fire and says, forget the tune-ups. I want the best. Yeah. And Danny Garcia is right there, so away we go. And what I'm seeing in the welterweight division right now, especially with you and Thurman and Pacquiao and Errol, and, you know, hopefully we can see, you know, Terrence Crawford in that mix as well. But I'm starting to see the best fighting the best in their primes. You know how we've heard for years, the guys in the 80s did it this way, the guys in the early 90s. I'm okay with that, but I'm glad to see that you guys are finally getting your just due for fighting each other and having this kind of war amongst all of you.
It took some time, but we're here. And I think the fighters always knew that. I know me personally, I always knew that fight with Errol Spence that happened last year was eventually going to happen. I knew the fight with Danny and the fight with Keith and so on and so forth. I mean, I've been in the ring with all the guys, so I think I'm excluded from that statement, but at least a little bit. But, yeah, I think now's the time. Now's the time to show what this sport has. And I'll be honest, man, this sport has terrific athletes. This sport has terrific people, you know, and I don't think enough people know that about the sport of boxing. And I've said this, I've been saying this for a long time. It's only a matter of time before the world really finds out who we are as athletes, who we are as people. And I think we're coming into that now. And I think we're definitely going to be able to take a huge advantage of the sporting world because of this COVID and because of this quarantine. Everybody is on high alert, and nobody is really moving right now. So obviously NBA just got back, MLB is going right now, and everyone's trying to be safe. But right now is the time for boxing to take advantage of all the eyes wanting to see new sporting events.
Shawn, you've been a pro since 2008. We have seen you become a world champion before PBC was a known entity and a player in boxing, and you fought on the second PBC show ever back in March of 2015. What has it been like to be amongst one of the pillars of PBC, one of the guys that fans see on a consistent basis against the best? And the popularity of boxing thanks largely in part to the influence that BBC has had to get boxing back on network television. You've done it as a fighter, and you're also doing it as a commentator now.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this ride. It's been an amazing ride. A lot of changes, a lot of things going on throughout the years. But, you know, as I look back on everything that you're saying right now, 2008 is when I turned pro, and it's just been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. What I can say about PBC when we fought on Fox, Spike TV.
Fought an NBC against Adrian Broner.
NBC, we've been CBS, we've been
CBS
everywhere.
Against Thurman.
We've been everywhere, and I think that PBC has always represented boxing very well and continues to represent boxing very well. And, you know, as I said at the beginning of this interview, that's what I'm here to do Saturday night, is just become is to be the best representation of boxing that I can be. And I think right now is a great time for me to do it.
Well, you're getting ready for Saturday night, but you're in the PBC bubble. I know you just got there yesterday. And can you dive into what it is like to be in the PBC bubble? I was in the bubble a little bit a couple weeks ago, but I think that PBC and TGB Promotions, they do a wonderful job to make sure you guys are taken care of and have as much as you can have, although we are limited with our circumstances. But can you dive in and pull back the curtain a little bit for the fans as to the behind-the-scenes look at the PBC bubble?
I'll be honest, as we were making our way into coming to the hotel, we felt like it was going to be a mess. We felt like it was going to be complicated. We felt like it was going to be kind of chaotic, and it has not been that. Everybody has been really in order. Everything has been ready for us, and everybody has done a terrific job to this point. I hope that everybody that gets here is healthy, that we can put on a great show, and then we can all go home healthy as well. But for me, in this bubble, this is the norm for me. I'm used to being in my room by myself. I don't really care to be out walking around. I don't care to be in the hotel, in the lobby, anything like that at all. You probably never see me before a fight, aside from the weigh-in and things like that, because this is the norm for me. So nothing changes. Nothing has changed for me at all, in terms of this quarantine, the preparation for the fight, and now just a few days away from the fight, I treat everything the same. And the best part about it is this is the norm for me. So everything has been great so far here in the bubble. I think maybe the only weird thing was not being able to see my dad and the rest of the team when we first got here. Everyone had to be quarantined until we got our official results. But now we're back all together, and everything's the same for me.
About a couple questions, Shawn. We appreciate your time. Give us your prediction on Saturday night. It is something that I always ask prize fighters, and I'm curious to know if you guys are going to give a prediction, or obviously, that you're the mindset to have your hand raised, but do you have a prediction in your mind in a perfect world how this fight ends?
I never make predictions, man. My job is to go in there and dazzle the crowd and have fun and just be successful on the night. Obviously, no crowd there, but I do know that they're going to play some noise. So my job is to make that noise get cranked all the way up. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it. This Sebastian kid, he likes to box. He likes to use the ring. So just look for me to be smart, be aggressive, but work behind my jab and work behind my fundamentals. That's what I'm looking forward to. Looking forward to winning, getting home early on Sunday, and get back to my family.
If your team and your management team of Team Porter could come to you on Sunday morning and say, Shawn, you can have any fight in the world at 147, who would that be? Because I'm curious to hear your response.
It's got to be Manny Pacquiao. It has to be. It's got to be Manny Pacquiao. I think that's the best fight in the world right now. I think that's the best fight for me right now. I think that's a great fight that people are overlooking. That would be the fight for me. It would be Manny Pacquiao.
Is it because you have history sparring with him, or even if you didn't have the history of sparring with him back in 2009?
Well, I think the history that I have with him, I think that makes for a great story. I don't know. I think that it's possible that I feel a little bit more comfortable getting in the ring because I've been in the ring with him, and I know his capabilities. And those were his capabilities back in 2010, 2011. I think he's very much the same fighter as he was back then, So I just think that I would be ready. But I think more than that, it's a great fight. I think in terms of action, in terms of styles, I straight up and down, I think that I'm the best fighter out there for Manny Pacquiao, and I think he's the best fighter out there for me.
Well, Shawn, thank you so much for your time. Finally, if you have any final parting words as the world continues to deal with this pandemic, no fans in attendance on Saturday night, something that you're not used to with the venues that you fought in. But, what do you want to tell all the fight fans out there that will be tuning in on Saturday live on Fox, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time from Microsoft Theater?
First of all, God bless you guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, cover up when you go out, and be smart. Outside of that, Saturday night, it's going to be fun. I hope you guys are going to stay tuned into what boxing and what Fox has to offer the rest of the year. And I know it kicked off last week, but I feel like it officially kicks off this week. So stay tuned.
Shawn, thank you so much for your time. Good luck. We'll see you on Saturday. Looking forward to you back inside the ring where you belong.
You got it. Thank you.